Hello there. It's time to go outrunning again. So, full disclosure. Well, first of all, I did a broadcast on Twitch this morning. I played Gunstar Heroes on hard. Um, I was humbled. I had my ass beat down pretty severely. And I made the mistake of going into the broadcast on an empty stomach. All I had was my little cup of coffee. Big mistake. uh, it's definitely way too overwhelmed by a certain point. It's like, okay, it's time for a tactical retreat. We'll come back to that challenge. So I have beaten this on hard, but like I'm not necessarily looking for a casual run. You know, I want to still challenge myself at least modestly. So, you know, at least going with the manual transmission, that makes it a little bit trickier than all default settings. But I do want to challenge myself and improve my play. However, sometimes I am only human, and it's an opportune time to say that eventually, even though the series is called Defeating My Sega Genesis Collection, we are going to run into games where either they're not actually beatable, you know, certain games that don't have an actual ending to them, or we run into titles where I get as far as I can to the best limits of my abilities, and then we say, okay, this is where I accept defeat, at least at this point in time. But we made the best attempt we could. So this game, I love it. It was my first true superscaler. I had never played a racing game quite like this. I played this before the original OutRun. The extent of my racing game experience up to that point as a little kid, when I rented this, was isometric games. Like we had RC Pro-Am on NES. It's a great game. And then I'd played titles like Super Off-Road. I had that on the Game Boy. But this blew my mind. Had a profound impact on me. Now this one is certainly a lot more obscure than the original OutRun, and in certain ways, that's fair, because this was not a Yu Suzuki creation. I don't think anyone on his team participated in the creation of this, to the best of my knowledge, and it only officially got the OutRun license from Sega at the end of its development cycle. But it's obvious that it was designed from the ground up as a futuristic take on the classic OutRun formula. It is simultaneously more linear and less linear. Instead of one map with multiple branching paths, there are 4 stages, with not quite as many possible branching paths in total. But there is, in certain ways, more potential for variety. However, you are ultimately heading toward the same ending each time. I tell ya, it may not look like it on screen, but it's so easy to fall off these bridges. Look at me manifesting that. It is usually because of some jackass. You're not racing these opponents. It's still you against the clock. However, these other cars aren't considered neutral traffic, but your opponents. They do try to get in your way and impede your progress. Yay. Okay. But I really love the aesthetic and vibe of this game. Of course, it's more representative of the actual future that I'm from, like the real 2019, with transparent aluminum bridges, clean energy, beautiful cyber cities, and technology that's full of wonder and adventure instead of this corporate dystopian nightmare that from this timeline. But the soundtrack, I love it so much. It's difficult to even rank it next to the original soundtrack, 'cause, of course that one is just so iconic and timeless. It's just a different style. But it personally pulls more at my soul. It feels more akin to a heroic struggle. The struggle is real with these bridges. But that... it's not just a casual drive, you're really pushing to triumph over something significant. Even if it's just a personal challenge. This is gonna be close. I consider this the hardest stage in the game. It's not that stages 3 or 4 are a cakewalk, but that first stretch of this one is brutal. I can't tell you how many times I've fallen off that first damn bridge. Gets my heart pumping. As far as I know, this game isn't completely buried in the past as far as availability. I know there was a Sega plug-and-play that has OutRun 2019 on it, and I want to say that this is on the Segagenesis Mini 2. So you do have some options. Though thankfully, if you do want to play an original cartridge, it's pretty reasonably affordable, even if you go complete in box. Which I do recommend, because the box art is absolutely stunning. In my opinion. But it's art. And speaking of art... to me, this game is art. Video games are art. That's... I don't really think that's up for any debate anymore, if anyone's still trying to have that argument. But here's my take on it. I don't think there are enough people that are willing to simply accept art on its own merits, especially in this medium. It's like, I get it, this is low resolution. know, it's not even truly 3D. You know, it's not in 4K. It's got a pretty decent frame rate, but I don't think it's quite 60 FPS. And I'm not wanting to be one of those people that I derided in my Streets of Rage video. I'm trying to say that, you know, the way I play is the only valid way to play games. Like, you know, ultimately you do you, boo. However, I do contend that there is a lack of ability to simply appreciate things as they are. If you think about it, consumer culture, which has kind of hijacked its way into everyone's subconscious, like latching onto the survival instinct, like, you know, where you're not going to be reproductively successful, you know, unless you're at the cutting edge of technology. If you're always technologically relevant, you know, you're not going to be, you know, part of popular society and have a better chance at finding a mate and having kids and all that fun stuff. It's very insidious. But there has to be a point where you just say, like, it's good enough. Like, there's a lack of contentment. Like, I think it's complicated. It's also wrapped up in the general privilege of Western society. Like, there are people going through some absolutely horrific things in the world, and that's not to invalidate, you know, whatever struggles you may be going through, or I'm going through, for that matter. But, you know, we here in the West are super quick to throw away, like, things that delighted and enchanted a whole generation just a couple decades ago, and sparked countless imaginations. And we act as though, like, oh, like, somehow these things are just, it's junk, it's obsolete, like, it can't possibly hold the same value. It's like, yeah, right, like, our brains have really changed so much in a couple decades that we can't find the same things meaningful and fun, or have the same appreciation for art. It's like, come on. Like, I'm thinking on a thread I came across some weeks ago. It was pertaining to Assassin's Creed, but it doesn't have to be specific to that game. It's just that someone was taking screenshots of Assassin's Creed 2 and using AI, you know, dumb AI, but still, to basically redo the graphics. And, you know, of course it looked higher quality, you know, it was, you know, higher resolution, way more detail, you know, more elaborate lighting, etc. It's like, but you couldn't just enjoy it as it was. And, like, think about it, if you're gonna go down that rabbit hole, and if you're gonna be one of those people, guess what, 5 years down the line, you'll take that same, you could remake the whole game like that. And then a few years later, you take that same thing and be like, oh, now it's garbage, because, you know, it's not 8K or 16K, it's not 120 FPS, and whatever other garbage that marketing comes up with down the line that, you know, you have to buy, and you gotta throw out all your perfectly good technology for this new stuff. Like, sure, you can make an argument along the lines of the old saying that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. It's like, sure, yeah, we could take... Oh, that sucks. You could see the... you could see the line forming for the next route. Damn. See, sometimes even normal mode can give me a decent challenge, so, you know. Give my respect to the game. drive like a jackass, get an ending like a jackass. Yeah, that's just my stance on it. It's not to say that I don't think, you know, for example, as an artist, that you shouldn't continue to try to improve your craft and make things better, but once you have something that it's just ready, you know, there comes a point where you have to say it's good enough. Like, if it's something that's not just for your own private enjoyment and your own personal archive, but is meant to be shared with the world in some way, like, eventually it has to reach a state of it's good enough. You know, I can speak from experience to say that, you know, when I let my first book get its first round of publishing, yeah, it wasn't really in the state it should have been. And it needed the new edition. But I could have sat on it and just kept rewriting and editing and tweaking and, you know, making refinements and little improvements here and there, and, you know, technically making it better all the time, but, you know, even with the new edition, there had to come a point like, okay, I did what I set out to do. This is as good as it's gonna get. And I just think there's a lack of appreciation for things as they are. And calling back to before I got that bad ending, the insufficiently advanced technology indistinguishable from magic, you know, but you can take that kind of reasoning too far and let it blind you to realizing that, hey, you know, our grandparents would be astounded and enchanted by what we have, and we just throw it away, even though it works and still does exactly what it was intended to do. And my paternal grandfather didn't even have electricity as a kid. So, yeah, you can say what you want, you can say times change, you know, things advance, things evolve, and that's, you know, I personally don't think every single technological advancement automatically equates to societal progress. But we're way too quick to throw things, and also people, away, just because they're quote-unquote old. It's like, guess what, kiddos? Someday, your smartphone is gonna be in a museum, if it's not in a recycling pit by then. And Fortnite will be looked at as with the same disdain that some kids would look at this game with. So it's a little bit of check your privilege, you know? And how far do you want to take it? Do you really want to keep wasting money forever? Always chasing the latest and greatest and constantly throwing out things that are perfectly fine? Do you want to be the personal monkey of planned obsolescence for the rest of your life? Just putting it out there. As I race my little heart out and flip my car over onto its poor roof. having hit a vintage car sign, is that count as irony? Whoops, I hit another one. Can we have a moment for the music again? Like, the double bass kicks in, you know, shit just got real. That's not to say that the Super Nintendo couldn't have done this soundtrack justice, but... Ooh, that punchy, sizzling bass. Even if you don't want to play this game, I highly recommend checking out the soundtrack. It is absolute masterpiece. Go! Those snow levels are especially beautiful. I love them so much. A sunset, look at it. Yeah, more double bass action. I extra appreciate it as a drummer. I'm definitely more of a rhythm girl than melodic. I can play guitar semi-passively, but I could not listen to a note and tell you, oh, that's an A, or oh, that's a G, or whatever. Like some members of my family. The best I can say is I can figure out, like, oh, it sounds like these chords go together, and like, oh, this progression of notes sounds like it belongs together, and it's kind of leading into something, but... I'm all about them drums, yeah. And bass. Like, yeah, bass guitar is a melodic instrument, but it definitely has more percussive elements than you typically get with more standard guitars. It's part of why bass tends to be considered the rhythm section with the drums. Yeah, live a little. Listen to the soundtrack from original hardware with good stereo separation. Oof. It's like, what a time to be alive, anytime you're listening to this. Look at all these jerks trying to get in my way. You can't stop me. I mean, well, technically you can, but I won't let you. That was close. They really have it out for little old me. Just can't get around him. There we go. Whoops. Good thing it's the future. Even though all I'm doing is hitting a D-pad, it's almost like... I almost feel like I'm making the turn with a wheel. Hey look, that road is almost as incomplete as I-75. Still not as dangerous. It just felt like I was about to tip over the edge. It's a woman on the edge. Edge of sanity. Who can say? Who can say? It's just me and my Sega Genesis. And some plushies back there for emotional support. Badass. Transparent aluminum for the win. It's so good. Come on, Sega. We need OutRun 2083, so... That way we've got a little time to finish the race before the Robotrons attack. You could totally avoid having to renew the Ferrari license, just, you know, make a sequel to this. Come on. Come on, Sega. You can do it. We did it! Completed OutRun 2018. Now, one of my favorite endings of any Sega Genesis game. Let me tell you, as a kid, this sparked my imagination so much, and I love the music so much. The visuals is just awe-inspiring, right? I wish I could say, like, that I have the same crazy ripple effect of imagination as an adult that it is a kid when watching this. Just... starring little old me. Yeah, Tom. You didn't help at all. Neither did you, Nancy. Anyone want to do a cover of this song with me? I'll be the drummer. Risen. Everywhere. I can't say that it's as timeless of a masterpiece as OutRun, or that it has the same sort of near universal appeal, but I love this game. I adore it, and I highly recommend you try it, or at least give the soundtrack a listen. But thank you for watching, and thank you for playing. We're gonna have more adventures soon. Who knows what Part 7 will entail. It's possible I could have dropped a clue in there. Who can say? But thanks for sticking with me on this journey. Hope you're enjoying the ride. There's more adventures to come. See y'all.